Hey, what is going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and today we are talking about Star Wars. We are going to be ranking all 9 Star Wars movies from worst to first, in my opinion. So this is no one else's opinion, just mine, 100%. And just since I saw Last Jedi, I saw it twice now. I've seen it twice, and I thought I would rank them from my worst favorite to my most favorite. And like I said, it's my opinion, so obviously it's going to be different than yours. And thing is, my list is very different than most people's. It really definitely is. It's probably more based on my feedback than other people's feedback, is what I'm trying to say. So just because somebody claims, and just because more people claim that a specific Star Wars movie is the best one, it doesn't mean I'm going to put it higher. It just means that more people liked it. But if I liked it, I'll put it higher. If I didn't, it'll be lower. It's kind of how it works. So starting out, the number 9 spot, my least favorite of all of them. This is kind of actually something that most people believe in as well for the worst Star Wars movie, is the Phantom Menace at number 9. And the thing is, this movie's not a terrible movie. It's not as bad as people make it out to be. People make it out to be like a nuisance to mankind and stuff like that. It's not that bad. Okay, there are some pretty terrible things about it that just make it a complete failure, but there's other things that make it actually a very entertaining movie. And honestly, the movie's kind of just a funny joke, in my opinion. It's an entertaining movie. It's not like it's boring or anything. It's just, it's not a good Star Wars movie. That's kind of what I have to say about it. We have some really awesome stuff in it, though. Of course, we have the duel of the fates, of course, from Darth Maul versus Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. That's one of the best lightsaber duels in history of Star Wars. So that definitely makes up for it. And also the battle of Naboo is also a very intense and fun to watch battle. So basically the last quarter of the movie is very entertaining, and in my opinion, some of the best Star Wars we've ever had. But the first 3 quarters are just boring. Not really 100% boring, but pretty boring. Bad, flawed, stupid, cringy. It's not good. The first 3 quarters, it's just not. There's a lot of just not so good things about the movie. It is not much to say about it, but Darth Maul in the last quarter of the movie kind of makes up for it. So it makes it so it's not a terrible movie. It's just a subpar movie, is kind of where I put it. Coming at number 8, we have Attack of the Clones. Now, this one is just a little bit better than this one, and it kind of suffers from the same situations. The last quarter of the movie is very entertaining and very good, from the battle in the arena to the battle between Anakin, Obi-Wan versus Count Dooku, and then Yoda comes in. Yoda has a duel, which was one of the coolest things ever to see. But that doesn't make up for 100%. It somewhat makes up for, but it doesn't make up for everything else that happened in the movie, like the terrible, terrible romance. And I hate to say it, but Anakin's acting in this movie was terrible. In the next one, it was okay. This one, it was just atrocious. And it just wasn't very good. There were some subplots that were just unnecessary. They were kind of just there, and it just didn't make for a good movie. I mean, just some of the romance between Anakin and Padme was just so cringy and just terrible. That's kind of what I have to say about that. You did have some interesting stuff, though. Obi-Wan versus Jango Fett in the beginning part. That was entertaining. But it's just that was only a really good part in the beginning of it. And you did have the creation of the clones, which was interesting. But, I mean, it was really reliant on CGI. So was the first one. They had a lot of not so good CGI in the movies. But it was a pretty entertaining movie for the last few parts of it, and had some good plots to it overall. So I have to give it this spot, but it's not a terrible movie. Just like the Phantom Menace, it's not terrible. Coming at number 7, which this is going to probably enrage people, and it's where my list is completely different than most people's. I'm putting A New Hope at number 7. Now, hear me out here, okay? Just because it's the first one, just because it's the original, just doesn't make it automatically the best or up there with the best. That's what people say. They usually say, "Oh, it's the first one. It's the original. It has to be the best." No. For its time, it was good, yeah. But you look at it now compared to the rest of the movies, it just doesn't stand a chance to any of these other movies that I put on the list. It doesn't. It really doesn't. It's, in my opinion, better than Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, but it doesn't stand up against some of the newer ones. It's definitely a good movie, but it's not amazing. There's never really amazing moments in the movie. I mean, you see a lightsaber duel, it was just despicable. I mean, he was literally just two old men swinging at each other for 2 seconds, and then somehow him like disappearing from a lightsaber swing. Like I said, it was made a while ago. You can't be perfect, especially a movie made back then. But Empire Strikes Back was only made a couple years later, so was Return of the Jedi, and in my opinion, those movies were much better in terms of effects and just acting and directing and writing. It was just better, in my opinion. New Hope was entertaining and had some pretty good moments in it, but I just don't think it could stand up to the rest of the movies in Star Wars. That's all I gotta really say about A New Hope. You did have some interesting stuff in there, like Luke. I was interested in the character from the beginning, and as time went on, it became more and more clear. Han Solo and Chewbacca, and it was the first one, so it was a really good introduction to Star Wars, but it just doesn't stand up to the rest. The rest just, they beat it. They beat A New Hope. I hate to say it, but it is the truth. Darth Vader was intimidating as always, but he wasn't nearly as intimidating this one as he was in some later movies, which we'll get to those. So that is number 7. Coming in number 6, I hate to put this here too, because as much as I wanted to enjoy this movie, I just didn't, and that is The Last Jedi. That's for number 6, and man, I hate to put it here because I went into this movie thinking I was going to be my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. I went into this movie thinking it was going to be incredible because that's what all the critics said. They said it was incredible. They said it was the best. They said it was this amazing thing. And it ended up just not being that. Not being that at all. It was kind of meh. That's all I got to say about it. It was meh. First of all, there was a lot of subplots that were unnecessary. The whole thing at the casino planet, whatever that planet was called, it was kind of boring. And it was unnecessary, boring, and very, very SJW leading. Let me talk about the SJW stuff. So what that means is a lot of course, Disney owns it now, and Disney is very liberal, very, against conservatism and against Donald Trump and against capitalism, against everything American, basically, is what Disney has turned into. And you can kind of see that just by a lot of the recent movies. But I don't mind when they have views like that, but when they try to push their political agendas into the movies is just absolutely obnoxious. I don't like when any movies do that, even if it's for leaning towards conservatives, if it's politically leading for conservatism or whatever. It's either way, I just hate it. I hate when movies do that. And if it doesn't bother me, if it's like not very clear, if it's like, okay, maybe they weren't meaning to be doing that. Like for example, The Force Awakens. Everybody, when a movie came out, were like, oh, it's such an SJW movie. Oh, I was like, how? And people said, oh, because they have a female lead and a black lead. It's like, okay, just because you have a female lead and a black lead doesn't mean it's automatically SJW, feminist type stuff. That's not what it means. And I stood by it because that's true. I mean, maybe they wanted that. Maybe they wanted a lot more diversity. Whatever. I don't really care. Like Spider-Man did it. Spider-Man Homecoming, half the fucking characters are not white. But if it doesn't bother me, if I can get over it, it's fine. If it doesn't like ruin the plot. But when it goes into the plot and makes a whole subplot based on a political agenda, I can't support that. And what I'm talking about is the whole casino planet, whatever that place is called. The whole thing was bashing on capitalism. They were like all these rich people, the Rose character. The Rose character in itself is just it's just, she was only there for the political agenda. I mean, they made her Asian. Why couldn't she be something else? I'm not saying having an Asian character is terrible, but that's just kind of what they were doing. You can't ignore this. You really can't, especially when they have a whole subplot that is not necessarily the plot at all. just for a political agenda of, let's talk about how terrible capitalism is and how terrible animal abuse is and how terrible all these rich white people are, and that's basically what it was, and it's just basically what that whole subplot was, and I hated it. Another subplot that was kind of unnecessary and also very politically involved was that one dumb, like, purple-haired bitch. That whole character, and that character and Rose were both kind of like the politically agenda type characters, and they just, that character, it bothered me. Leading this command and being obnoxious and not letting Poe have any say in anything, kind of just, I don't know. I hated it. I absolutely hated all that. Everything with Finn, Rose, and Poe. Wasn't interested in. I wasn't entertained by that. Didn't want to watch those scenes again. When I went to go see it a second time, when those scenes went on, I either went to the bathroom or looked at my phone or just didn't really pay attention because those scenes just weren't entertaining. Now, the entertaining parts of Last Jedi, which makes it better than A New Hope, better than Phantom Menace, better than Attack of the Clones, is the Rey and Kylo Ren stuff. I love the character of Rey. I think she's one of the greatest characters they've ever come up with in Star Wars history. Kylo Ren is a good villain. He's not intimidating or badass. He's not insane. He's not like he's not a rehash of Darth Vader. He's a lot more in depth than that, and he's a lot more troubled, and he doesn't know what to do. And I like that. I like the whole thing they did with them, but they kind of threw it out of the drain. I mean, after the whole Snoke scene, they kind of just got rid of the whole dynamic between them and just said, alright, let's just make Kylo Ren a psychopath killer again, because why not? I don't really understand that. I mean, it made sense in some ways, but it also kind of was just like, why? You know what I mean? They had everything set up to be some badass duel. I mean, this is what I was hoping for. I was hoping for Rey and Kylo when they went into the room. The same thing that happened. Kylo helps out Rey, and hopefully, I was hoping Snoke would have lightsabers. Now, I know people are like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Why would he have lightsabers? I don't know. Just give him fucking lightsabers. Who cares? There's not enough lightsaber characters in the Star Wars universe anymore, to be completely honest. Give Snoke double red lightsabers and just have him fight Kylo Ren and Rey at the same time. How badass would that be? Having this big ass duel between them in that room, or have like Kylo fighting him while Rey is fighting off his guards. Like, that scene was badass. Don't get me wrong here, but having Snoke die like that without having a duel or a fight of some sort kind of was a disappointment. I wanted to see more of Snoke, and I think we could have gotten that, and it would have ended with Kylo Ren same way. It would have ended the same way. Kylo Ren killing Snoke after a duel. And it would at least give us a lightsaber duel in this movie, because there was no lightsaber duel. There wasn't. There was not a solid lightsaber duel that I could consider a lightsaber duel. But the scene between Rey Kylo fighting the guys was pretty awesome. But if they were fighting Snoke while fighting the guys, and then they killed them all, and then they had the thing that happened where Kylo was like, join me or whatever, and we can, start our own thingy. And instead of what happened, instead of that, they could have actually fought. Rey could have grabbed a lightsaber and been like, no, I'm not joining you. Don't do this, Kylo. We just killed Snoke. We just killed your supreme leader. Let's take out the rest of them together. But Kylo goes with it anyways, and then they have another duel. Or not another duel. Yeah, another duel, because they had one in The Force Awakens. And that would have just been badass as hell, seeing them go at it and fight. And maybe had another duel at the end between Luke actually maybe being there. I don't know. I know, he wanted nothing to do with it, but it kind of made him seem like a pussy, and then he died in a really weird way, and it was like, what? A lot of the stuff was just what, and just disappointing, and could have been done in a better way. I am excited for the next one, but that's how I feel about that one. Coming in number 5, we have... this is a tough one, but we're putting Return of the Jedi at number 5. Return of the Jedi was a good movie, but wasn't incredible. Definitely better than the rest of them. I think it had some pretty cool moments, like the Battle of Endor was interesting. I like the Wookiees. People didn't like the Wookiees, but I liked them. They were entertaining to watch. I liked everything with Luke and Vader talking to each other, being a father and son relationship bond type of a thing. and not being against each other like they were in the last one, and then Vader coming to his senses and killing Palpatine. I thought that was incredible, and then Vader's death, very, very well done. I loved this movie, but it wasn't 100% perfect. It did have some boring parts to it that just were like, okay, I'm kind of bored. The beginning was interesting. I liked the whole fight against the, I forget what you call it. I don't know what it's called. The big monster thingy, Jabba the Hutt, and everything in the beginning I think was entertaining. It was a very good movie, solid movie. Number 4, we have Rogue One. Rogue One is the first spin-off Star Wars movie. First of many, because they're planning on many more. Very entertaining movie. I went into this movie thinking it was going to be nothing serious, nothing big. I was like, it's a Star Wars movie, I'll see. I'm not really excited for it or anything like that. But man, was my expectations blew out of the water. Ended up being a much better movie than I was expecting, and I ended up loving it a lot. The Vader scene made up for any boring parts of the movie, which there wasn't many, but some parts were a little slow. But other than that, incredibly action-packed, very, very dark and emotional movie, especially with the whole ending of blowing up the place they were blowing up the place they were on that had the plans for the Death Star or whatever. And the whole plot was just very entertaining and very interesting, and I was entertained very much. Number 3, Empire Strikes Back. Yes, everyone puts this at number 1, but Empire Strikes Back is number 3 in my opinion. Had some amazing moments with this is how I feel about this movie. The first half, or the first quarter, was great. Last quarter, great. The middle, wasn't amazing. I wasn't very entertained in the middle, but the beginning with the Battle of Hoth and the ending with the Cloud City and everything like that. Lando was an awesome character. The fight at the end, the revealing of him being his father, all amazing stuff. Very good movie, solid movie. Number 2, we have Revenge of the Sith. I mean, the best prequel, the only prequel movie that I call incredible. Just the end duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan, honestly, alone, it can make this movie incredible. But then you had like 4 other lightsaber duels in the movie, which is the most we've ever had in a movie. Probably definitely the most action-packed Star Wars we've ever had. The most emotional, the most dark, with Anakin just killing kids. I mean, just they took the first 2 movies and said, okay, we gotta make something amazing for the third one, and they did it. They did it. They made almost a masterpiece. Yeah, Anakin's acting was a little meh. Yeah, we had some slow points here and there. Yeah, we had some flawed areas every now and then. Some CGI that was a little questionable. But overall, a fantastic movie, and it goes down in history as the second best Star Wars movie, in my opinion. Number 1. Very controversial. People say this movie is one of the worst. People say this movie sucks. People say it's trash. People say it's a rehash of A New Hope. The Force Awakens. Look, I know people say it's a rehash, and yes, it's very similar to A New Hope, but it's not a rehash. It's more of a kind of like, not really a remake, but like a callback to A New Hope, and that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to make characters similar to A New Hope. They were trying to make storylines similar to A New Hope. They were trying to make planets, places, events similar to A New Hope, and I had no problem with that, because A New Hope did have some pretty entertaining stuff, but like I said, could have been a lot better. And guess what? Force Awakens made it a lot better. It made it entertaining. I loved the duel between Kylo Ren and Rey. I loved the action in this movie. It was very action-packed, insanely action-packed. I loved the characters that they made, and I felt like in The Last Jedi they kind of ruined some of the characters. But Han Solo, his death, everything about that, the storyline between them, just the fact that we haven't had a Star Wars movie in 10 years and we finally get it back, bringing back so many OG people, incredible. Incredible movie. Force Awakens comes in at the number 1 spot.